This resin table is transparent and it's going to have a waterfall leg on it. In fact, I'm making two tables in this video and both will have waterfall legs. I started with a highly figured maple slab and ripped it down the center to create two halves. The waterfall leg will be a continuation of the top surface that miters down 90 degrees to the floor. In order for the live edges to match up, I wanted to pour the entire table together, including the leg. This will give me the best shot to have a seamless transition between the two. I'm using a deep pour resin from easypourepoxy.com, so I can do this in a single pour. Compared to pouring in layers, I won't have any visible lines on the end of the table where those layers will be joining. Because I pre-sealed the slabs with epoxy and used a deep pour resin, I'm not going to end up with any micro bubbles after it's done curing. I want the total thickness of this table to be about 1 3/4 inches, so I put it on the router surfacing table and remove any excess material. This also ensures that I have a flat surface both on the top and on the bottom. To remove any marks from the surfacing, I use a direct drive sander using 80 grit. Next, I trim the table and get ready to make my miter cuts for the waterfall leg. Using the track saw, I tilt it at a 45-degree angle and make my initial cut. Then I flip the saw around and make another 45-degree cut on the leg. Now I can drill holes for dominoes to be installed to permanently attach the waterfall leg to the table. Because both pieces have resin in them, I'm using a tabletop epoxy to join them instead of wood glue. To ensure I get the strongest bond and won't have any visible seams, I apply a lot of the epoxy to the area that I'm going to join. That will allow the wood to really soak in the epoxy and diffuse the two resin pieces. The second table I'm working on for the same client is going to be an end table with a shelf and a support back piece that a power outlet will be installed in. I didn't want to use any hardware on the table, so I decided to use dominoes and epoxy to join the entire table together at once. Tabletop epoxy normally only takes 8 hours to cure, but I left it in there for 2 days just to be safe. I covered the seams with masking tape to prevent any of the epoxy from leaking out while it cured. Once I pulled them both out of the wood clamps, I was able to start the sanding process. Both tables will receive multiple coats of an oil wax finish that really helps keep the natural matte look of the wood, but allows me to wet sand and polish out the resin. Even though this resin has a dark tint, by polishing it out, it makes the live edges much more visible. It's a great combination that allows you to have color in your table in the resin, but doesn't mask the live edges completely. At first glance, when you walk in the room, it's going to appear black, but as you get closer, you're going to see down in through the resin, and those live edges are really going to pop out. If you'd like to learn more about how I made these tables, I did put together a 30-minute detailed video up on my YouTube channel at Jeremy Elkins. So go check it out and let me know what you think.